I moved into apartment 5B last week. The building smelled like damp concrete and secrets. The landlord warned me, never go near the basement, especially after dark. His eyes twitched when he said it, like he remembered something he wished he hadn't. That night, I heard soft crying under my floorboards, like a little girl sobbing. It started at midnight and stopped exactly at 3:07 a.m. I knocked on the janitor's door to ask about the sound, but he wouldn't open it. Through the crack, he whispered, "She's awake again, isn't she?" The next night, the crying grew louder, and it wasn't just sobbing anymore. There was a faint dragging sound, like fingernails scraping across stone. I placed my phone near the floor to record the sound. When I played it back, I heard a child's voice whispering, "Help me? He's still down here." I asked my neighbor in 5C if she ever heard the girl cry. She slammed her door and slid a note under mine that said, "Don't let her know you can hear." I found the basement door again and placed my hand on the knob. It was ice cold, but I swear something inside was breathing, slow and deep. That night, I dreamed of a girl sitting in a dark stairwell with no face. She turned her head to me and mouthed the words, "Come see." I woke up to a child's drawing slipped under my door. It showed a stick-figure man standing over a pit, and something pulling his leg down. I knocked on every door in the building, but no one answered, not even the ones I could hear whispering inside. It felt like the entire floor had gone hollow overnight. The crying returned, but this time it wasn't alone. There was a low, rattling breath beneath it, like something breathing through broken glass. I placed a mirror outside the basement door to try and see what's inside. At 3:07 a.m., I watched something crawl toward the mirror, but nothing was in front of the door. I confronted the janitor again, and he finally broke down sobbing. She was left down there. We bricked her in. The photo showed a girl with hollow black eyes standing in front of a sealed basement wall. Behind her, something tall and dark was barely visible in the shadows. I tried leaving the building, but the front door just opened back into the hallway. No matter how many times I tried, I always ended up outside apartment 5B again. The walls in my apartment started to sweat, dark liquid dripping like blood from the ceiling corners. My furniture moved slightly each time I blinked. I played the audio backward and heard her say, "He won't let me go until someone takes my place." Then the crying stopped, for the first time in days. That night, I felt a cold hand gently wrap around my ankle while I was sleeping. When I jumped up and turned on the light, I was alone, but there was a trail of small wet footprints on the floor. I opened the basement door and stepped inside for the first time. The air was thick, like breathing inside a grave, and the crying began again. Right behind me as I descended the stairs, every step creaked like a scream held too long. The crying grew louder, but it now sounded older. The walls were covered in tiny handprints, hundreds of them stained into the stone. Some were pressed so deep it looked like they'd clawed their way out. I reached the bottom and found a child's shoe lying in the dust. It was still warm. There was an old wooden door at the far end with scratch marks all over it. My name was carved deep into the wood. I opened it slowly, and the air that rushed out smelled like rot and dirt. Something moved in the far corner, just out of the light. I whispered, "Who's there?" And the crying stopped instantly. A girl's voice replied from the darkness, "You're not supposed to see me." She stepped into the light. Her face was stitched shut, her mouth sealed. Yet the crying still filled the room. The walls began to bleed as she pointed behind me. I turned and saw another figure watching us both. It wasn't human. Its eyes were hollow, and its mouth was too wide. The girl screamed inside my head, "He found you." I ran toward the stairs, but they kept stretching away, each step growing longer. Behind me, the creature whispered, "Take her place, and I'll let you go." I collapsed on the stairs, gasping, and the little girl appeared beside me. She took my hand and whispered, "It's always someone new." I begged her to show me how to escape. She pointed to a brick wall and said, "Behind that is the first one." I removed the bricks with trembling hands until a skeleton tumbled out. Its jaw was open in a silent scream, and its fingernails were worn to the bone. Dozens of similar walls lined the basement, each one a tomb. Each one had a name carved into the bricks. Some were still breathing. She told me the building feeds on pain and fear, and the basement is its stomach. Every few years, she said, it chooses someone to open the door again. I tried to run again, but the girl blocked the way. If you leave, she said, he'll take someone else, someone innocent. She gave me a candle and said, blow it out, and take my place. Her stitched mouth moved with every word, even though it couldn't have. The monster was behind her now, waiting, patient, grinning. Its hand rested on her shoulder like a father waiting to pass down a legacy. I screamed, why me? And she answered, because you listened. No one else ever does. I stood there frozen as the candle flickered low. She stepped backward into the darkness, whispering, hurry, before it chooses for you. The walls around me started closing in, breathing like lungs. Every whisper I'd heard since moving in now screamed at once. Begging, warning, pleading. I held the candle tightly as the girl's voice echoed, choose or become nothing. Behind me, the creature snarled, but didn't attack. One of the bricked-up walls began to crumble on its own. A bloodied hand reached out, fingers twitching, then dropped a necklace just like hers. I picked it up and saw a photo inside, of me as a child, standing in front of this building. I'd been here before. The girl appeared again, her eyes no longer crying, but glowing red. You were the first, she said. You brought him in. I remembered now, the games in the hallways, the basement door I had opened as a child. I had started all of this. I fell to my knees as the truth sank in. This was my curse to carry. The building didn't want a victim. It wanted a warden. The girl nodded once, then slowly faded into the wall. The creature bowed its head and stepped backward into shadow. The candle went out, and the basement became utterly silent. I stood alone now, but the crying would return, just not mine. Upstairs, a new tenant was moving into apartment 5B, and far below, I sat in the dark, waiting for them to hear her cry.